Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
This is 476 Barbary, right?
Yeah, I'm renting this place.
No, I booked it a month ago.
Are you sure you have the right place?
Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
Why don't you come inside and we'll call these idiots. Why don't you just crash here?
Oh, no.
I don't know if you got a great look at this neighborhood, but I don't think you should be out there by yourself. It's dry and there's a lock on the door. By the way, I'm Keith.
Tess.
You take the bedroom and I'll sleep out here on the couch.
God. Keith?
This process might seem overwhelming, but with a little practice, it can soon become a pleasurable experience. This is perfectly natural.
All right. So we are here and we have Dylan Black back on the show. What up, Dylan?
What up?
Yeah, and so Dylan had tweeted about Barbarian, and I had really known nothing about it. And
I hardly knew anything about it.
Yeah, and so like he's kept bringing it up on Twitter, and I was like, okay, it seems like one of those A24 movies that everybody is gonna love or whatever, and I'll probably watch it at some point. And then Oren watched it,
Yeah.
tweeted about it. And I was like, okay, so Oren loved it. Maybe I should check it out. And then a handful of other people brought it up, and I was like, okay, it's on HBO Max. I've got nothing to lose. It's a little bit, a couple days after Halloween. I didn't get a chance to watch some spooky movies, so I'll catch up. And so I watched Barbarian by myself, and oh my god, what a freaking movie! Okay, so initial reaction.
Anybody knew about it.
Yeah, and I think that was the beauty behind it.
Yeah, because I think the first trailer came out before Black Phone. Like that's the first time anybody's heard about it.
Really?
And then yeah,
and I didn't even get a trailer for it in front of Black Phone. I did.
Really?
I did get a bunch of trailers. I've been in a big trailer avoiding phase in life. So I watched that teaser for Barbarian. I didn't even watch the whole thing. I saw part of it and was like, this is already giving me too much.
Yeah.
So I stopped. And then it turns out it really doesn't give you anything.
Oh yeah, I need to go back and watch that teaser because I don't remember it at all. I literally knew nothing about it except for people kept showing like memes and like if you see Justin Long in a horror movie, it ain't gonna end well for him. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this because I love Justin Long. So went and watched it. It blew my mind, and I just had to get online and talk about it. And so you guys, are some of my favorite movie people, and I was want to talk to you guys about it. So initial reactions, how do you guys feel?
I loved it. It's great. It's a little background behind it. It's Zach Creggers who directed it. He is from the Whitest Kids You Know, like the improv sketch group in like the mid 2000s, and he this is his first thing he's ever directed. He's been in stuff, but like his first horror thing he's ever directed, and like it took him forever to get it made because he has like no horror background. And
Yeah. I heard that he's been wanting to make it for more than a decade.
yeah,
I was like, holy crap.
yeah.
So
It-
that's
but
impressive.
it's his process behind it is interesting because he basically had this idea for the movie or for a scene, which was like the first act of the movie, where
Yeah.
it's the Tess, she shows up double booked at Airbnb,
Yeah.
and like there's all these red flags of the other dude there, and then like
Mm,
there's that suspense there because he read a book called The Gift of Fear, and it's
yeah.
about how when women they shouldn't ignore like their gut reactions for like
Mhm.
every tiny red flag is a red flag for a reason,
Yeah.
and so you should always pay attention to that, and that's kind of that first act.
Yeah. It's their
And I
sixth
was like,
sense. It really is.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Survival
well,
instinct for sure.
yeah, and
Okay.
then I mean, before we talk about spoilers, but like before it gets into the second point afterwards,
Mhm.
it just like goes off the rails.
Yeah.
Like I did
Yeah.
not expect
It
anything
basically becomes
after that point.
a different movie at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
So
That
Dylan's
100% at the
initial
point
reaction?
it shows Justin Long's character. Yeah,
True.
My initial reaction is I loved it.
Mm.
I mean, my reaction while watching it was just yelling, "What?"
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah. Okay.
Ridiculous.
All right. So we're going to talk about some of the beats of the movie. I've got the plot pulled up here. Coming into town for a job interview, Tess Marshall books a remote house in the rundown Brightmoor neighborhood of Detroit. Upon arriving at the house, Tess finds out the place has been double booked and is already occupied by a young man, Keith Tushko. Initially unnerved by Keith, Tess warms up to him and decides to stay the night. So what happens here is kind of every woman's worst nightmare. You're in a new city, you're not familiar with the area, you're already in a bad part of town because you didn't know where you booked your Airbnb, and you show up to your Airbnb late at night, it's raining, storming, whatever, and there's somebody in there, which is like red flag city, like Oren was saying. So what do? Do you try to find a hotel? She did, and she couldn't find anything. No one's picking up the phone for Airbnb. So her literal only option is to stay the night with Bill Skarsgård's character and hope that she doesn't get murdered. So, how do you guys feel about Bill Skarsgård's introduction there?
So good.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. I was so unnerved.
Yeah.
But also, I don't it's so masterful, and it's
Mhm.
giving you red flags and then
Yeah.
also trying to convince you they're not red flags.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
as it's
It
convincing
makes you
her-
want to believe that like maybe he is a good guy. Maybe this is all just
yeah,
an accident. But
and the
convenient.
fact that they cast someone who is most iconically known as playing
creepy.
just creeps
Yeah.
and one of the biggest creeps of all time.
True.
Such a good choice to have someone who
Mm.
already makes us uncomfortable a little bit just in
My-
his appearance.
My initial reaction was, I mean, you could be way worse off than getting double booked at an Airbnb with Bill Skarsgård. I mean, I wouldn't complain about that. I'm just saying, I'm like, man, she's kind of lucky. So, but again, like you have to fear for your life. So anything is a red flag. He made her tea. She didn't drink it. He said, you can sleep in the bedroom. We can figure this all out tomorrow. I'll sleep on the couch. And even then, like she was worried, as she should have been. And then he tried to pop a bottle of wine with her. And then you're like, this is the part where it seems so convenient for him to lure a woman into this house.
yeah,
And when oh my gosh, even when he starts talking about how he knows that what was it, a documentary she was involved with?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm like, he's lying.
Yeah.
yeah,
He starts talking like details on it. And
He
I'm
did.
like,
Yeah,
he's
he did
still
his
lying
research.
somehow. I know
Uh-huh.
it.
yeah.
Yep. Yes. All right. So moving forward, the next morning, Keith leaves for the day and Tess goes to her interview. She returns to the house and is chased inside by a homeless man yelling that she must leave. She ventures into the basement and gets locked downstairs. she stumbles upon a hidden corridor. So before all that happened, when she was sleeping, she woke up and the bedroom door was wide open. And she just heard Bill Skarsgård's character mumbling to himself like he's having a bad dream. And freaked out, she goes and checks on him. And then he yells at her for waking him up. It's a whole very tense scene because in the background, you totally see that basement door shut. So it's a very tense moment. And you still have no idea what's going on or even what this movie is about. Genius. And it really throws you off because you don't even know what to expect.
Right. And you said you haven't seen the teaser at least.
I saw the poster and somebody looking down, a tunnel. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so there's got to be tunnels involved.
Only shows footage with Tess and Keith.
Yeah.
Wow, you're kidding me? Really?
Like later on, I felt like when everybody was talking about it, I considered the fact that Justin Long was in it. I thought that was like a spoiler. I was like, I had no clue he was in it, like at all.
Oh yeah, I had only seen that teaser once.
Yeah,
and then I took my best friend to the movie, and he hadn't heard anything about it. And when Justin Long comes in, we both just what?
Yeah.
He's in this.
Even the point,
I love that
in
so
which
much.
he's introduced to is just so like startling. Just the immediate cut to his story.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay. So she returns to the house and is chased inside by a homeless man yelling, little girl, don't go into that house." And he's chasing her and she locks the doors. And that's already a scene that I'm like, oh my God. Like, thank God she made it inside because, we don't know nothing about this neighborhood. Eventually, she ventures into the basement and gets locked downstairs. So when she's in the basement, she is trying to find a way out. She gets kind of stuck. The door locks behind her. And I guess she just decides on Keith to get back. So meanwhile, she discovers a hidden door with this rope. And she opens it and finds this just black tunnel in this basement, which is the scariest thing I can even think of, to be honest. And she's a genius. It worked out this light to go down the hallway with a mirror. And she goes down there and discovers a room with a bucket, a bloody handprint, and just a mattress. And then she freaks out. Oh, and the camera. It was a camcorder, right?
Yeah.
Ah! Horrifying. Keith arrives and frees her. Tess tells Keith what she has seen. He goes into the basement to investigate. And he does not return. Tess returns downstairs and discovers that the hidden corridor she had initially found leads to a subterranean tunnel where she hears Keith screaming for help. She enters the tunnel and finds an injured Keith. And then I'll save this little next part. Okay, so she's walking down this tunnel. She hears Keith screaming. Again, red flags for us because we're like, he's trying to lure you into these tunnels. It's way worse than we thought. Horrifying. But the use, okay, so moving forward to like the cinematography of this, the use of darkness in this tunnel with just a light is brilliant because you're scanning the entire screen for anything that this flashlight may, touch. And then you're hearing screams at the same time. It's the scariest thing while using also virtually nothing as far as like, I don't know, effects. It's just darkness in a tunnel. Genius.
Yeah, some of my favorite moments in movies in the last few years have been descending into basements. Parasite.
Nice.
The moment they descend into the basement is just totally thrilling beyond belief. And then I don't know if you guys saw 1917, but they go down into those tunnels.
Nice.
Honestly, it's a war movie, but it's a terrifying war movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that two people just descending into this, and then now again with Barbarian every time. Scares
Mhm.
me to death.
Yeah.
Scares me so bad.
It's
Yeah, and
also my favorite thing about like horror tropes, like the idea of like impossible space. Just like you
Mhm.
go in the basement and there's like a secret corridor, and then there's like these steps that lead infinitely, deeper down into the ground, and like
Mhm.
there's like these corridors. Like that's awesome. Like this is spooky. This that concept.
Yes, and I was talking to somebody about this, and I was comparing it to how well they use nothingness in the Invisible Man 2019. When you're just
Mhm.
like staring at an empty room, you're scanning the entire room to see anything move. Because there's at some point when the butcher knife gets picked up, or you're waiting for anything to budge because you're like, there he is. It uses that same type of suspense and that build up while using nothing to scare the crap out of you. So brilliant. She discovers this room, and she does see this room, right? At this point with the breastfeeding
Uh,
video, or is that
no, that's
Justin
later
Long?
on. Wait,
Okay,
no. Yeah, I think it is later on.
gotcha. Yeah, I think Justin Long's character discovers that.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's in the hallways and she hears Keith, and he comes crawling at her, and I freaking poop my pants because I'm like, what is it? What is he? He's some type of creature. And he's like, we have to go. She's like, why? And he says, somebody or something bit me. She's like, what? He's like, we have to go now. And before they can really even think, the barbarian lady, this naked lady, just comes up from behind him, grabs his head, and just
Mhm.
smashes it to the wall. And we literally see the camera following his head.
It's so good. It's
That's so
shocking.
awesome.
It's so brutal. I couldn't get over it. And
And then
then,
that's the smash cut
yep.
to the
Yeah.
nice highway on the side of the ocean.
Then we cut to the second act, which seems like a completely different movie of
Mhm.
Justin Long driving in his convertible in Los Angeles, and he's singing the song to a radio, just as happy as can be. Ugh. That first act, man, that is how you start a horror movie.
Yeah.
Just everything about it was perfect. The buildup was genius. Ugh, so good. And we still know basically nothing about this movie at this point still.
I want to believe that just everything I've read about Zach Creggers and how he wrote the screenplay and everything.
Mhm.
I want to believe that first act was like his proof of concept, and like
Yeah.
that's what he like pitched or whatever,
Yeah.
because that feels like the most like concrete, like,
Yeah.
well crafted, part of the movie. I mean, the rest of the movie's good,
Yeah.
but like it's just like a quick divergent point from that point on.
That's a good point. That would be the perfect proof of concept, because literally use your imagination. Anything else that happens in this whole movie it's gonna be a good movie because it has the perfect
Yeah.
setup. So you build the rest of the movie in your head, which if I was a production company, I'd be like, take my money, let's
Yeah.
make the rest of this movie. So genius. Okay,
Yeah.
moving forward. Sometime later, actor AJ Gilbride learns he has been fired from his television series due to rape allegations made by a co-star. Pressured to sell his assets to pay for legal costs, AJ travels to a rental property he owns in Detroit, the same house that Tess and Keith rented. So this is where the movies kind of collide, and we're like, oh, so this is how it's gonna cross over in a way. AJ inspects the house and eventually discovers the hidden tunnel. So this whole part of the movie cracks me up, and it sets up perfectly that we do not like Justin Long's character, and that we kind of want him to get killed. So
Yeah.
they did a brilliant job at making us not like this guy, because he goes into this Airbnb and he's trying to assess how much value it has, finds this
Yeah.
hidden tunnel, and instead of calling the police because he saw this bloody handprint, he grabs a tape measure, measures every square foot, and then he's on Google, like, do hidden tunnels in the basement add square footage to a house? Does it raise
Yeah.
the value? And I thought that was so funny.
It's so interesting too, the contrast between the two characters in two different situations, but in the same
Mhm.
place. discovering the same space, and it's this girl who's possibly being preyed upon, and this tunnel scene is terrifying.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have this guy who takes advantage of people, and he's in there, and he sees it, and all he sees in that tunnel is another way to possibly take advantage of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Seeing him only view it that way is so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, pulling the tape measure past
Genius. They wrote his character in the perfect way for us to just root against him. But at the same time, you're like, is he really a bad guy? Do we believe the allegations? We don't know yet at the same time, but all signs point to yes.
Yeah, there was also the point
by the
where,
end of the movie.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, by the end of the movie, allegations true or not, I don't care. He sucks.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. What were you gonna say, Oren?
I was gonna say, like, the point before he gets to that property in Detroit, where they were talking with his I don't know, investor dude or whatever, his financier or whatever, telling like what properties he has. They say Michigan, and you connect the dots, and you're like, oh, is he aware of what's in his property? Like, is that his snuff room or whatever? Like, and you're like,
oh, I didn't even think of that.
I thought of that entirely when it was like, oh,
obviously, I'm just an idiot and
Yeah.
connect those dots. I was like, yeah, that's his Airbnb, but I didn't think of like that's his snuff room. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So AJ, Justin Long's character, he's measuring out that tape measure in those hidden tunnels, keeps going deeper and deeper, finds this hidden room even further away from the other hidden room, and there's a mattress, some blankets, and a CRT TV VHS VCR combo playing this breastfeeding video, like an instructional. And he's like, what is going on? And then after that, his tape measure that he has just in the darkness pulls out of his hand and just disappears. And at this point, we're like, run, run, run. And so he pulls out his flashlight, his knife, sees the barbarian lady, takes off, falls into a hole in the ground. Lid comes over it, and sure enough, Tess, the lady from the beginning, is inside that hole as well. And at this point, we know that it's been weeks because he mentioned earlier that no one's rented out this Airbnb for weeks. So she's been trapped down there. And she says she doesn't like it when you talk or something like that. And he's like, who is she? And then they point up and they look up, and our barbarian lady with her giant hanging boobs are hanging through the grids at the top, and she reaches down with this baby bottle, and Tess just says, drink it. And he's like, I'm not drinking that. And so Tess just drinks this hairy nipple on the bottle, and then the barbarian lady gives it to Justin Long's character. He knocks it out of her hand. Whew. Barbarian lady jumps in the hole, pulls Justin Long out of the hole, and it's just Tess alone. And this dark hole in the ground, she has a flashlight. She climbs out, gets the heck out of there, and she hears Justin Long's character screaming. And now we're like, well, what do you do now? You hop in your car and you drive as far as you can. Sorry, guy. Like, that's it. You're dead. Better you than me. But no, she doesn't do that. She calls the police. The police come. They
do nothing.
They do nothing. They think that she is a crackhead, and they refuse to believe a word she says, which is so infuriating.
Classic.
I mean, come on, do we expect anything different? She gets out just in the nick of time because the homeless man saves her and says, you have to go right now. I'm over here at the water tower. You can stay with me for the night, and then in the morning you can walk to town. And he says something along the lines of, she's not even the worst thing in that house. And we're like, what? there's more. What's worse than her? So she's like, no, there's a man in there. I have to help him. And he says, you're on your own, lady. And she goes back down to try to help him. After she had already wrecked her car at this point, or does she wreck it now? I don't remember exactly. Either way, she's basically stuck. So instead of going to town, she goes back into the tunnels and tries to save Justin Long's character. As she goes down, she's got her flashlight and she's got the knife and she's like ready to save his life. And then lo and behold, she gets shot by AJ, Justin Long's character. And
Classic.
it looks to us like she's gonna die. But alas, she doesn't. Her and AJ walk out of the tunnels. They get out of the house. And it seems like they are going to make it. Man, I totally forgot to mention this. Tess runs over the barbarian lady in her car.
With the
pins
car,
her
that's how
against
she
the
wrecks
house.
the car.
Yeah, that's how
drives-
she wrecks it.
The barbarian lady like chases her out.
That's right. That's right.
Hits her with the car, and it's like, oh, okay, she's like dead.
Yeah.
And
Pins
then
her
when
against
she
the
comes
house.
back, when she comes back later, the barbarian lady's gone.
Yeah.
Which I hate that.
I mean, we all knew it was going to happen. So they get out, and she's like, I know where to go. So they go to the water tower, and the homeless man is like, get in here, get in here. What are you doing out at night? And then he's like, get in here. And he says, she comes out at night to hunt or whatever. And he says, but she's never been in here before. And so he kind of tells a story about Frank, that he would abduct women, take them to the tunnels, and he would never see them again. And he would just have children after children with those children. Horrifying, scarring. And if you're a woman and you're very sensitive to that type of stuff, this movie may not be for you. And it's hard to watch for sure. But they don't show anything. It's more alluded to. Either way, at this point, the barbarian breaks into the water tower where they're hiding.
Wait, before that.
Okay, go ahead.
Tess is shot. They're trying to get her to a hospital, and they're like,
oh yeah.
The homeless man's like, you have to stay here. You have to go. You'll go in the morning.
Yeah.
And Justin Long has this monologue where he's like, I did something wrong. I hurt people. I gotta do right. I gotta be right by her. I gotta be better. And then when the barbarian lady bursts through, he just runs away, like leaves Tess.
Yeah.
He has this like Kool-Aid man's her way in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
he has this whole like inner monologue where he's like, I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person. I'm not a bad person.
Yeah.
He keeps doing bad things. So he ditches her. He takes off. They realize there's no way out. So they climb the water tower through the ladder that goes all the way around the stairs. And of course, when they get to the top, Justin drops his gun. And here comes the barbarian up the stairs. And he says, she doesn't have to kill both of us. And he looks at her.
This is so infuriating. I was blood boiling.
He says, she doesn't have to kill both of us. And he says, here, come get your baby. And pushes Tess off the water tower, which is the most insane thing I've ever seen. I was like, what? What? And the barbarian, who just wants to be a good mom, dives off the water tower. and it looks like they're both dead. So Justin Long, he's like, I can't believe that worked. He goes down, he grabs the gun. Just as he's about to put the final blow into the barbarian's head, who has Tess on her chest. Apparently she caught her. And, whatever. Tess wakes up and Justin's like, oh my God, thank God you're alive. And he pulls her up.
Oh, and he does that whole, you were slipping. I didn't even push you. Oh my God. He starts just gaslighting her to her, just straight into her face. I didn't push you. Right when he pushed her. Oh.
Yep. And of course, the barbarian is still alive. She gets up, puts her thumbs into his skull, and literally pulls his head apart like he's a cantaloupe.
So sick.
It's so cool.
And the next thing we see is Tess laying on the ground. Barbarian gets on top of her, puts the gun in Tess's hand, puts it up to her own head, and Tess basically pulls the trigger for Tess, and Tess blows the brains out of the Barbarian lady.
Well, with the
Mhm.
Barbarian lady, she does some of that.
There you go.
Oh, baby. And then she goes,
Yeah.
it's so sad, dude. This
It
made
is
me
so
mad.
sad.
She goes, back home. Back home. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Baby home.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yes. So that is basically what ends the credits. After mid credits, I guess you see Tess walking at night, not afraid of Detroit at all. She's seen the worst of it, and she's out of here.
Oh, that's a
And
good point.
that's all we got. I
Yeah.
was like, oh.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
So the true
Oh,
barbarian
okay.
of this story, though, Justin Long.
Justin Long.
Yeah.
I gotta say at the end though, where it plays that Ronette song, "Be My Little Baby,"
yeah,
like
that's
like the perfect
right.
like ending. Like I was like, oh, this rules. This movie that elevated the movie for me. It was like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
And that intro just like drum hit on that song being in like rhythm with the gunshot right at the end was so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So that's the movie. We got 2 minutes left. Let's wrap this up, guys. What's your rating out of 10? What do you guys give it?
10. Oh my gosh, I'm usually rating out of
10.
5. Let me recalibrate my brain here.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can do out of 5 if you want to. I like doing out of 10 because I'm sophisticated. As a horror movie,
I use 0.5s.
I'd give it a 10 because everything subverted my expectations. I had no idea what was about to happen. My jaw was on the floor for the last half of that movie. And that doesn't happen with movies for me. So 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it really is a 5-star movie. It's there are plenty of movies that I'm like, I don't know, does that deserve me giving it a 5-star rating, like up to something else? But I'm like, yes, because 5 stars because it's exactly what it aims to be.
Yeah.
It nails everything it set out to do, and it pays off so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a 10. 10 out of 10 for sure.
This is when you go
a lot
below
of the shots, the writing's great. Just the concept alone, where at the halfway through it comes like a different movie, or like it subverts expectations. The cinematography and the Frank flashback scenes, I loved it so much. Like the behind the shoulder, and like a lot of it is one cut, but like
it even changed the screen size to 4:3 because it was the 80s. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
I love this so much. So bravo. I can't wait to see what happens next with Zach Creggers. They could honestly do sequels if they wanted to, because who knows what else is in those tunnels. Do we need it? Nah, but I'm here for it. So hey, this has been the Skullcrawlers review of Barbarian. And as always, thanks for watching. If you guys want to see us have Dylan back, let us know down in the comments below. Also, what movies do you guys want to see us do next?